Previously on Road to IndyHog, we went on a trip through the recent year to cover the history of hog racing and HRL. We also tied that into our real-life Indy Road America trip, and I discussed how those two intertwined to inspire IndyHog. Welcome to episode 3 of Road to IndyHog. In this episode, I'm going to give you a closer look into the process of preparing for a new season. Things like working on the docks, forging the tracks, and trying to organize the schedule with everybody else. Speaking of that, I'll also cover the final look of the schedule and preview who will be working on which tracks. That will play a major role in our future episodes, so make sure you pay extra attention to that part. Alright then, let's get into it. Throughout the years, an underrated aspect of our series is our collection of Google Sheets documenting our stats from our inception. That may sound kind of funny, but if you think about it, it's pretty cool that we have all of this history documented on this app in our own way through the sheets that we create. And that if you have the links to these, you can access pretty much whatever information you want on current or past HRL information at any point in time. Basically what I'm saying is the title of this segment. Google Sheets is the real MVP. We've been tracking everything on here since the beginning, but especially in the last 2 years or so, we've started to take the documentation more serious and are trying to clean up the docs as best as possible for the sake of our drivers and anyone trying to follow the series, as well as our own personal sense of pride and organization too, of course. With that, we now have multiple massive stat documents where you can find some crazy all-time stats for drivers, and our current series docs look much cleaner and are easier to use to find whatever information you're looking for. I've got to give credit to Opix here as he handles a lot of the work on that front, and also because it's important to remember these docs don't make themselves. Whether it's me or Opix or Detail working on these to document everything and bring you the information, someone has taken the time out of their day to do all this, and that's important to recognize. It's genuinely one of the most time-consuming aspects of running our series at this point, even with the many upgrades that we've made, but it's super important and one that we take very seriously. Forging is a more obviously important aspect of our series. For every new season, especially recently, our community forges the new tracks for each series. Now, this can vary. In some series, we'll make 1 or 2 new tracks. Others could be 7 or 8. In IndyHog, it's going to be 14 new tracks built from the ground up for this series. As you could probably imagine, that's a lot of effort. So as I alluded to at the end of the last episode, we decided to split up the effort for this season for multiple reasons. Yes, it takes a lot of the pressure off my shoulders in particular, since I did most of the forges for Rallycross, but it also gives us some desperately needed variety in the schedule after that season. Don't get me wrong, I like my own tracks, but even I was desperate for some variety in the forgers for the RX season. With IndyHog, I wanted to take steps on correcting that, and the first step towards that was the trailer. IndyHog, I wanted to take steps on correcting that, and the first step towards that was getting people excited with the trailer.
Now, many of you have seen the trailers, but I imagine that most of you haven't seen what I use to make the trailers, so let's give you guys a behind-the-scenes look into that.
Alright, and time to get a little bit meta. So this is actually what I use to edit everything. DaVinci Resolve, what is it? It might be like version 18 something now. We're actually at this point in the episode as well. So I wanted to perfectly sync it up and go completely meta for this. It is a little slow for me, especially my Band-Aid fix that I had to do with my PC, so that kind of got cheesed, but still use it. It's pretty good. Been using it for the videos ever since, like, what, 2017 or so. A lot of cool stuff that you can do with it, especially for the free version. There's a paid version that has a bunch of other things, but it's like too advanced. I wouldn't even know how to do half that stuff. But yeah, so that's what I use. It's pretty good for me. Get all your files and stuff. Title cards, shout out Opix, music action, down here for the sheets section, real life stuff in the episode, forge, different audio, which I had to do a little, the audio's weird, I had to do a little workaround. We still have some weird stuff happening for the PC, but yeah, so that's a little behind the scenes look.
And let's get back into the episode.
So yeah, that's what I've used for making all the videos since 2017. Making a trailer always starts with a vision. Usually it's just one that comes from my head, daydreaming about the type of trailer I want to make. Once I have it somewhat realized, I like to write down specific notes or specific lines. If it has narration, then I hop on the game to record footage. After I get that, it's on Resolve I go, and I put my head down and start editing. For the music, that kind of depends. Sometimes I have a song in mind for the vision that I have, sometimes I don't, and I like to edit clips together and see if anything comes to mind watching them without the music. Either way, I eventually wind up with a song, throw that in, and try to mash the video with it. Another thing I like to do with most trailers is tell a story. That's what they all are at the end of the day. Even if there's no dialogue or narration, most of my recent trailers have tried to end at a different point than they start. I don't want all of the trailers to just be montages. Some of them can be, and that's fine, but the ones that tell a story really hit home and have a larger impact. I'd rather make something like the track countdown, obviously a pretty extreme example there, than something like the RX tracks preview. With that being said, they both have a home. As far as the previously mentioned race videos go, there's really not a whole lot to say on those at this point. I just start recording, usually when I'm streaming, and watch the race and commentate over it. The race videos used to be a much bigger production, but I stopped doing that for a few reasons. One, if I'm putting that much effort in the race videos, I'm not putting it in any of the extra content. Two, when I realized number one, I realized that the race videos didn't need that extra effort, and it would be better suited to the other non-live content. And three, the live factor. I really like doing the race replays on my stream, and even though it's technically not a live race that I'm watching, it is a live race recording. And I like having the feel of the live watch-through as if you were watching a live sporting event, even if it's just an illusion. Ultimately, the videos are very important to me. The trailers, the montages and recaps, and even the race videos. When it comes to fully produced content like this, I've wanted to be a director, or more accurately, a storyteller since I was a kid. And these types of videos and series scratch that itch. When it comes to the race videos, their purpose is they're pretty convenient for when I make content like this. But seriously, I could do without them, and I even have recently for some series. But for the most part, I want as much of HRL's races to be documented as possible. I think it's just awesome to have these memories on YouTube accessible to anybody at any different time. I've had multiple racers mention to me about the videos that they've watched from the past and looked back through, and that's the most flattering thing to me, especially when it's a quote or a crash or some type of moment from a video that I don't even remember. I know how much some of these races can mean to the racers, and I don't want to deny them of those memories in the future. I want to try to cover as much as I am able to, so that one day, maybe even I would have an itch to go back to an old race and relive it. Oh, and yeah, it's also pretty good exposure. That's pretty nice too. After much time and consideration spent on it, here's a look at our IndyHog schedule and forgers that will be working on the tracks. Alright, let's go through it. Kickoff for the season is on St. Pete, a street track that I'll be cooking up. Then we go to Texas Motor Speedway, forged by Matt. This will be Matt's first time making a hog track and his first oval in quite a while. Curious to see what he can surprise us with here at Texas. Third spot, Barber, a great road course that I'll be working on. Long Beach by Slaunch claims the fourth spot. This will be Slaunch's first GP style track in a minute, and he did a great job with this one. We've already tested it, and it seems awesome. Can't wait to race on it. At number 5, the big one, the Indy 500. I've already forged this one. You saw it in the trailer. We've tested it. This is the premier race of the season, and based on the tests, it's going to be worthy of the title. I'm eagerly anticipating this one. Road America cheeses its way into the 6th spot. This is the same Road America by Slaunch and myself that we've raced on a few times now with the Hogs, and it usually puts on a good show, and I expect it to put on another. Also, interestingly, the only track in the schedule that has been raced on in the past that we haven't had to build up for this schedule. Then we take the series from northern Wisconsin down to the southern part of the state for the Milwaukee Mile at week number 7. A fast mile-long oval that I'm going to cook up that should see some competitive racing action. Number 8 sees Roman's first entry into the schedule with the Detroit Belle Isle Street Track. I'm excited to see Roman finally get into the hog forging game. At week 9, we have Mid-Ohio, a GP track that Detail and I may co-forge, although I'd love to get Armada involved as well since it's a bit of a home track, but that might take some convincing. The cornfields of Iowa is where week 10 will take place. Iowa Speedway, that is, forged by Opix, who is returning for a few oval forges in this series. Race number 11, we go to Portland, a track by myself that I actually recently finished and we tested as well. And those tests went fantastic. I wasn't fully convinced on this one, but after the testing, I'm sad that we have to wait so long in the season to race it. 12th race in the season will be another Opix oval, this time Pocono. Pocono could be a very interesting track with the Hogs, and I can see it going very well. So I'm looking forward to seeing how Opix interprets it. After that, we go a ways up north to the streets of Toronto for week 13. This one, also forged by Roman. This layout is pretty sweet. I think you'll do a good job with it. Penultimate round, race number 14, Gateway. Gateway by Slaunch. That's right, Slaunch wanted to tackle an oval in the season, and I didn't hate the Gateway that I was already working on, but I wasn't really in love with it, so I tossed it on over to him, and we're gonna see what he can do with his first oval forge in a minute. And now we arrive at the finale, Laguna Seca Forged by Detail. This track kicks ass in real life, and it's a Halo Reach classic as well, and there's no reason why it shouldn't be phenomenal with the Hogs. It'll be Detail's first solo Hog forge in a while, with a hell of a lot of time to make it. I think he'll nail it and give us a great finale track to battle it out on for the championship standings. Now that our schedule is set and the tracks are assigned, it's time for everyone to get grinding and create some awesome tracks for us to race on. In fact, that's what the next few episodes of this series will be focused on. I'll be going over my own creative process with forging Indianapolis, Portland, and St. Pete in the next one, and in the 3 episodes after that, I'll be talking to the different forgers that we have lined up for the season, interviewing them on their process and other forge-related questions, and maybe even getting some previews on their projects. We're going to learn a lot about our forgers and build up the hype for an HRL season that's sure to be one to remember. Next week, I'm going to go over my own creative process with forging, specifically on Indianapolis, but with previews of my Portland and St. Pete tracks as well.